Hi, I'm Nancy Gibbs, Director of the Shorenstein Center on Media, Politics, and Public Policy at Harvard's Kennedy School. Welcome to Unlocked, where we explore and explain how government works. A government without oversight or accountability is more likely to fail its citizens, lose their trust, and waste their money. My guest today, Michael Missal, served as the Inspector General of the Department of Veterans Affairs from May of 2016 until January of 2025, when about 17 inspectors general were all fired the same time by President Trump. Michael, thank you for joining us. And I wonder if we could just start by you explaining what inspectors general do.
And Nancy, thanks so much for having me and doing this important series. So inspectors generals are not widely known, but they do some of the most important functions to help make government work well and to fight fraud, waste, and abuse. It goes back actually to Watergate. Congress wanted to address the abuses in the executive branch. So they created inspectors general at various federal agencies to be independent, to be nonpartisan, to fight fraud, waste, and abuse, to help make programs more effective and efficient. And importantly, they wanted the inspectors generals to make reports equally to Congress and the agency head. So they thought by having these people that this will help Congress conduct oversight of the executive branch. And I think it's been wildly successful over the years. Historically, IGs have a monetary impact of over $100 billion a year, helping to save taxpayer money. And they've also helped improve various federal programs that have great benefit for taxpayers and others.
So you were trained as a lawyer. Is that the typical background for an IG, or do they come from all different
They come
professions?
from they come from different professions. Some are lawyers, some are auditors, some are law enforcement. One thing a lot of people don't recognize is IGs have law enforcement powers similar to the FBI. So we had a number of matters we worked with FBI, Department of Justice. At any one time at VA, we had about 1,000 active criminal cases. So there were a lot of skills required of the job.
So criminal cases. So this is typically fraudulent use of money, or what would be a
It
standard kind of case the IG would be investigating?
The nice thing is it wasn't a standard case. So again, just from VA, we did everything from drug diversion to assaults to murders. We had several murder cases where veterans were killed at VA hospitals, and contract fraud. So it could be a variety of things. That was one of the things we did. In addition, we did performance audits looking at different programs on a non-criminal basis to see if they were working as intended.
So just to step back, who do the inspectors general report to? Who appoints them? Who can remove them? What does that chain of command look like?
Okay, so let me first talk about who appoints them. So there are currently 74 federal inspectors general. About half of them are appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate. The other half are appointed by agency heads. So, in terms of who they report to, they have a general supervision by the agency head. It's in the statute. It just says general supervision, but it also says in the statute that the agency head is not to interfere with the work of the IGs. So the IGs decide what work to do, how to do it, and what findings to make without any undue influence. So they are pretty independent in terms of the work they do. Nobody can tell an IG what kind of project to do or what the findings are. In terms of removal, the presidentially appointed IGs can be removed by the president. However, Congress has put in a couple of conditions before removal. They have asked that the president give Congress at least 30 days notice of an intent to fire. And they've also asked the president in statute to provide detailed case specific reasons why the president wants to fire an IG. And President Trump didn't do either of those when he fired, as you pointed out, 17 IGs the evening of Friday, January 24th.
So you put that very gently, that it asks the president to provide a rationale for firing. Is that if the president fires inspectors general without providing that 30-day notice, is that in violation of the statute, or is that in violation of an expectation that Congress has that they can't enforce?
No, it's a requirement. It's in the statute that it's required to do so. And in this situation, President Trump didn't give either the 30 days notice or the detailed case specific reasons for why he wanted to fire so many IGs.
And can IGs serve for as long as the president or the head of the agency wants them to, or do they have set terms?
IGs do not have set terms. IGs by statute are nonpartisan. And so, therefore, they typically serve across administrations. We didn't care if it was a Democrat or a Republican in place. What we focused on was, is the agency functioning as you hope it would be? And are you looking to ensure that there's not fraud, waste, or abuse, and to address it? So I was nominated by President Obama, confirmed by the Senate, and I served for the rest of the Obama administration, through the first Trump administration, through the entire Biden administration, and then for 4 days in the second Trump administration. And I can tell you that every secretary got mad at me about something. They didn't like the work, that the results that we did, because people sometimes don't like to be told that things aren't going as well as they had hoped.
You mentioned the law enforcement power that the inspectors general have. If an IG uncovers waste, fraud, and abuse, what kind of action can they take, or can they enforce, or at what point are they essentially reporting to someone else to take enforcement action?
Okay, so there's two things. If it's a criminal matter, that we are required to immediately consult with the Department of Justice, and then we would help investigate the case, and the Department of Justice would prosecute the case. If it's not a criminal case, if it's just something where it's waste, what we do is we would publish a report on our findings. We would make recommendations on how we believe the agency can fix whatever the problem is. And then the agency or department can determine whether or not they want to agree with the recommendation and put in an action plan to fix whatever the issue is. So all the work of the IGs is very transparent. It's really a great way for people to understand what's happening at a particular agency or department.
So given what has now happened with the firing across almost indiscriminate, because it was across so many agencies, what do you think needs to change about why the statutes work, how the inspectors general role is framed, and where would any kind of reform or change need to come from?
So Congress created inspectors general because they wanted to have additional oversight of the executive branch. If Congress doesn't come forward and defend the inspectors general, to tell the president that they don't want certain people fired, or people have been nominated for the positions that don't seem to be qualified pursuant to the statute, meaning they are partisan individuals who have ties to either President Trump or the administration. And those people, by statute, wouldn't be qualified to be inspectors general. So what really needs to be done is the Senate needs to take a hard look at this and say, are these people that we want confirmed, or are we going to ask the president to nominate other people who meet the definition of independent, nonpartisan individuals?
So I know Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, has been a strong supporter of inspectors general, as have Democratic senators. Traditionally, do you think IGs are sort of equal opportunity bipartisan antagonists? As you say, you've annoyed secretaries from across Democratic and Republican administrations. Have they also been supported by and large by lawmakers from both parties?
Before this administration, yes, I would say Congress has been very supportive of inspectors general. Again, from my perspective from VA, we had contact with members of Congress or their staff on almost a daily basis, where they would be interested in an issue, maybe a constituent had some problem, and we testified frequently before both the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee and the House Veterans Affairs Committee. And there really were many issues where both majority and minority, House and Senate, didn't come to us to ask our opinion or to ask us to get involved in an issue that they saw.
Final question, since the inspectors general have been much more in the news these last months than maybe in the past. What is something that you wish that reporters and the public understood about the IGs and how they function and the role they play?
I wish they really sort of took a hard look at the great impact inspectors generals have had over the years. Just again, from my perspective at VA, in my almost 9 years, we issued over 2,500 public reports. We had about 10,000 recommendations for improvement, and we had a monetary impact of over $45 billion. You can go to our website, vaoig.gov, and see all the great work we did across all programs. And I think it's important for people to understand that this is a program, a service that is under attack and may not continue. And it's not just inspectors general. There's also the Government Accountability Office, which is the oversight arm of Congress. And just last week, the administration was very unhappy with one of their findings and sent a letter to the head of the GAO saying, we may not cooperate going forward. And if the agency, which is required by statute to cooperate with the IGs, if they stop cooperating, then the whole IG role is just going to dissipate.
Michael Missal, thank you very much for helping us unlock the role of the inspectors general. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.